John Smith from Putnam.
I'm going to let Doug take this.
Good.
Actually, I will ask a question. Are you doing anything to try to repeal the decisions that went through? Some of the gun laws, is there anything in that going on to try to get rid of some of those gun laws?
No, the only thing that happened was they tried to correct some of the obvious loose ends that were in the gun law, like with some of the target shooters were inadvertently put in there with the, made it look like they were semi-automatic weapons. And so there was a cleanup bill about a week or 10 days ago. But it's not, it is just that, it's a cleanup bill. It has nothing to do with trying to change the legislation itself. I mean, you know, they got the majority, and I tell people this all the time. You know, you can come up there and you can protest, and that's good. You can go to public hearings and that good, you know, and that's good. But you know, that Tuesday in November, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
That's a really big deal. You got to win because, you know, they come up there, these folks, and they got their views set the same as we have our views set. And they believe in them, and they're passionate. So you're not going to go up there and, you know, change minds and hearts. You got to get new people in the seats.
Yes.
And I would like to answer that by saying, your question was, are you doing anything to reverse the bad legislation that has been passed? And my answer is, I'm walking away from my very safe seat representing the town of Stafford and Somers, and I'm exploring a run for statewide office because I am so sick and tired of our rights and our Constitution being trampled on. And I'm willing to invest everything that I can bring to the table to try to start getting this state back to the once beautiful, freedom-loving, you know, business-thriving state it once was. And I think we can do it. But it's going to take a lot of meetings like this with a lot of people saying, yeah, I'm ready for the fight.
Now, going to your question, though, in terms of the timing and everything, our session is over for this year. We don't go back into session until February of 2014. So that's the earliest opportunity that we have to actually submit legislation. And in the second year of the session, we can only, or are asked to only submit items that pertain to budget matters. So the committee that takes up an issue can just summarily dismiss it as not being germane. So it's very limited what we can do in terms of legislation. We can do absolutely nothing until we go back in February.
By the time you go back, it will be felons.
Some of us might be, yes.
And I know that you are well aware that there's 2 Connecticut organizations that have filed lawsuits, and that will be going, you know, through the court systems to determine the constitutionality of the laws that were passed.
I know I think it's the governor of Texas is coming to take our
He's here.
manufacturers to Texas.
He's here.
How many jobs will we lose?
Wow.
Yeah, and he's not just looking to talk to firearms manufacturers either.
No, he's
he's talking across the board.
Thank you.
I'm going to shake it up a little bit. Mike, you're going to be the first one to get
Sure.
Beth Barrett on school budgets.
The towns are being crushed by dependency on state funding and state mandates that they have to pay for. Is there anything that you can do to help out the towns? And maybe put control back to the towns?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the things, that's one of the most conscientious themes of our party is to fight against unfunded mandates, to continually, consistently vote against them, and we do that. That's what I can tell you is what our caucus, as a House caucus does, is every time we see something like that, we vote against them, and we try to do whatever we can do to isolate those items and kill them, drag the clock out. I mentioned earlier in my remarks that towards the end of the session, power shifts to the minority because each of us in the House can speak twice on every bill or every amendment, and we use that to our advantage. So we have legislators, ranking members, who are looking at every bill that has jurisdiction over their committee, and they're giving us guidance and helping us find those opportunities to do just that. So we live that. That's exactly what we do. Now, having said that, I will tell you that the system is, it's kind of a scheme. I served on the team that was looking at the implementer bill. And the implementer bill, the general government implementer bill, on Tuesday night. Now, mind you, we adjourned Wednesday at midnight. Tuesday night, it was 120 pages long. On Wednesday morning, it was 508 pages. And we were going through that looking for rats, and that's actually where we found the rat that would have accelerated the ability to get your driver's license. If you're an undocumented illegal alien, you would be able to get it instead of January 1st of 2015, but you would be able to get it July 1st of this year. So when that came out in a press conference from Larry Cafaro, the Democrats were going like this, and they were all pointing at somebody different, and no one, fessed up to it. But that's what we have to do as a minority, is always be on the lookout for those things and fight them.
Oh, that was right down the wire. Any?
Yeah, I'm not gonna repeat all the, the same things that Mike or Tony say. The other piece of that is eliminating as many mandates as we can, doing our best not to take control away from you. It'll come back to me. We did something big on education. I can't remember what it is, but when it comes to me, I'm gonna throw it back out there. Where the state made a big decision and took that away from the Board of Ed, and it belonged to the Board of Ed. So we have to watch for that. And also the education cost sharing formula, which is what determines how much money is coming to each of the towns. That's very skewed towards the cities. And I know we've been able to make a few inroads to make sure that small towns aren't deprived at the expense of the big cities. So that's another piece. We have to protect the funding that's coming to each small town.
And I won't try to repeat either, but what Penny and Mike said are true. We had the steep grants that we started about, I think, 15 years ago. It's a small town economic development grant. So,
Assistance.
yeah, assistance. So and that was the piece that we carved out because no capital money was coming to our small towns, and they had something called an Urban Act, and that money was going to the cities. So you get small towns like Pomford, and all of ours out there, Eastford and Woodstock. It's hard to set aside money for capital expenses. So we were able to get $10 million carved out of the Urban Act money, and then we added another $10 million, and all the small towns have taken advantage of that. So well, in fact, right here, back to school, the playscape for handicapped, that was steep money about 12 years ago. Ashford Firehouse was steep money. Chaplain Firehouse was steep money. So we've been able to get some things out. And the reason we're a little more successful with that is because some of the Democrats also represent small towns. So we have a shared interest in that. So we want to make sure that stays alive, because if we don't keep that going, we'll get nothing.